Hello there. Welcome back to yet another Night of the Movies podcast. And in these podcasts, I talk all things movies and TV and whatever I want, whenever I want. And in today's podcast, I'm questioning whether Chicken Run 2, aka Chicken Run Dawn of the Nugget, we are questioning whether Chicken Run 2 can actually be the best film of 2023. But before I do that, I should say what's the start of every podcast I do, which is, if you are watching this podcast on YouTube, hello there to my viewers, but you prefer to listen to your podcast, well, guess what? You can with this one too, A Night of the Movies on Spotify. And if you are already listening to this podcast on Spotify, hello there to podcast listeners, then you can also check this podcast out visually on my YouTube channel, A Night of the Movies on that platform as well. If you do enjoy the podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe. And also leave me some feedback on things to improve on with future podcasts, because there's always things to improve on, and feedback is, as ever, much appreciated. So, let's get into it. Could Chicken Run 2, aka Chicken Run Dawn of the Nugget, actually be the best film of 2023? So, let's give some context first of all. The film is streaming on Netflix from December the 15th, and the trailer for the film came out this Tuesday, and I actually really like the trailer. And the film is premiering 2 months before it comes out on Netflix, 2 months, and it's premiering at the BFI Film Festival, which is a very famous British film festival if you don't know already. And it's coming from Aardman. And if you don't know who Aardman are, they're the same people behind the Wallace and Gromit stuff, the Shaun the Sheep stuff, the first Chicken Run, Early Man, Pirates and Adventurous Scientists, and Creature Comforts. And so, could this actually be the best film of the year so far? That is the big question. And with all that in mind, here's my answer. It could absolutely be the best film of the year so far. But it most likely won't be. And I've got 2 sides of the coin. I'm at 2 sides of the coin on this conversation. You know, it could definitely be the best film of 2023.
There's been quite a few good films this year.
Yeah, and you know, reasons for why it could be the best film of 2023. It's from Aardman, as already mentioned. You know, Aardman have made some absolutely phenomenal films in the past. The Wallace and Gromit films, I think, I speak for both of us when
definitely
they're some of the best films I think we've ever seen. And
some of my happiest memories, childhood and sometimes today, from TV is from watching Wallace and Gromit.
Yeah, and Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were-Rabbit, I think is a perfect film.
I agree. To say that. I think it's a perfect film.
You know, when people ask what is a perfect film, I am prepared to say Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were-Rabbit, because genuinely think about it. Think about The Curse of the Were-Rabbit. Is there anything wrong with it?
No, the soundtrack's perfect. Yeah,
and the jokes all work, the gags are all great, the action sequences are actually really, really entertaining, the whole dogfight sequence later on, and it's just a wildly entertaining film. And, you know, they also made the Shaun the Sheep movies, which are enjoyable. They made the first Chicken Run.
Yeah, I've only seen the, I think I've only actually seen the first Shaun the Sheep movie.
No, we watched the second one in cinema.
Did we? Oh yeah, well... Shaun the Sheep film again. So I'll take that back. I've seen both of them.
Yeah, and they made Pirates and Adventurous Scientists, as I already mentioned. That is a film currently streaming on Netflix, and that film is great. Very much underrated. Hugh Grant, David Tennant, Martin Freeman voice cast. Just splendid film. And they also made Early Man, which I like. Some people don't like Early Man.
I like Early Man.
I think it's a really good film, and
I think it's not as good as Wallace and Gromit in my opinion, but...
No, but literally, like, I don't think Chicken Run's as good as Wallace and Gromit. Neither do I think Pirates and Adventurous Scientists is as good as Wallace and Gromit. And so, you know, that's the way it is. Wallace and Gromit, I think, is always going to be the pinnacle of Aardman. But Chicken Run 2 is coming from the same studio. And I genuinely think that Aardman wouldn't make anything if they didn't have complete confidence in it. Because it takes like 5 years for Aardman to make any of their movies, because it's stop motion animation. They're doing it in plasticine. You know, Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Rabbit took 5 years to make. Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Rabbit took 5 years to make. They went into production on that right after Chicken Run released, so it took that long.
Yeah, I think you told me that, but I was very surprised when Spike told me it took 5 years.
Yeah, and I just don't think they would do a film like this if they didn't have confidence in it, because it's Aardman. Have you got anything else to add on the Aardman front?
I think I've definitely got high hopes for this film because everything that I've seen made by Aardman, even Flushed Away, although that wasn't.
It's not the because it's like that's like
same.
DreamWorks animation mixed with Aardman, so it's
Yeah.
like Shrek animation but also Aardman.
Yeah, even Flushed Away, even though that was just part Aardman, I feel like the way that the characters look in Flushed Away makes it better than it probably would have been if it was just normal characters.
And this chicken one is actually coming from the same director as Flushed Away.
But well, no, I actually quite like Flushed Away. The thing with Flushed Away is, I personally think it's miles better than B Movie. I used to watch both of them when I was a kid.
B Movie, the pinnacle of cinema.
The thing with Flushed Away is for me, I think it's a nice film. It's not one of those films. It's not. It's never really a film where. Well, not in my case. If somebody says to you, Lewis, what are your favourite animated films? Yeah, I never consider saying Flushed Away, but it's got its perks.
So I just get really annoyed when people call films nice, because it sounds like I've had a nice day out. So yeah, you enjoy the film though.
I do like Flushed Away.
I've only seen it once, and I saw it a very long time ago. I don't remember disliking it, but I don't consider that in the same.
It's not in the same league.
No, as any of the other Aardman films, and I also don't consider it an Aardman film. Like I know it is in a way, but it also isn't. Okay, another reason it could be one of the best films of the year. They're premiering it 2 months before it actually releases at the BFI, which is a quite famous film festival, and Netflix clearly have faith in this movie. They did the same with Knives Out too. Glass Onion and Knives Out Mystery. They released that in cinemas 2 months before it came out on Netflix, and that movie ended up being great. It won some Oscars. Oh no, it didn't win out on any Oscars actually, but it got nominated, and they're showing confidence in this by releasing it early. The reviews will come out early, and if it's bad, then it will, look what happened with Indiana Jones. Some of the reviews were bad for that film, and they ended up bombing, So, the same thing could happen here. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to bomb if it gets bad reviews because it's on streaming, but the point I'm making is if it gets good reviews, it drives up excitement, and clearly releasing, premiering it 2 months early shows you have faith in the film. You got anything else to add there?
I've got a lot of faith in Chicken Run too. I think after seeing the first Chicken Run, and after enjoying it so much, it's only natural after you've seen the first movie for the second one to come out, you'd expect it to be just as good, if not possibly even better, because you might think the directors want to make it even better than the first one, because they might think, oh, we've done that, why not up it again?
And also to add on to that, the first Chicken Run came out in 2000.
Which is a very it's incredible.
We're in 2023 right now.
It's funny. It's funny when you watch the first Chicken Run. It does not shout out this film came out in the year 2000. It doesn't feel like it.
No, neither does really any of our films. But also Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were Rabbit.
That came out in 2005.
Yeah, and it's aged amazingly. Like, I watched that again recently, and I was like, I'm sorry, did they make this film yesterday? Anyway, it's also taken quite a while to make this film, as we already touched on, because the last Aardman film was Shaun the Sheep Farmageddon, which I really enjoyed, but that came out in 2019.
The thing is, I didn't really enjoy it at the time of watching it, but me in 2019, I was quite different to how I am now. So if I watched it now, I'd probably like it very much.
Yeah, and Aardman, what was that, 2019? I know we've had a pandemic in between all that, but still, Aardman have taken a long time to make this film, not only in the animation department, but also in the script department. As we mentioned, the film is kind of 23 years in the making. So, yeah.
Well, they've had 23 years to make it.
I'm also not worried that it's only released on streaming. I've heard some people say, well, it's going straight to Netflix, don't have any faith in it because straight to Netflix films don't usually work that well. Guess what other straight to Netflix animated film came out last year? Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, and that film was great and ended up winning the Oscar for Best Animated Feature Film. So, I still have a lot of faith in it. I also think that Aardman have now got this deal with Netflix where they have to release their films on there because there's a new Wallace and Gromit film coming out next year in 2024, which is going to be straight to Netflix. So, I just think it's a deal thing. I honestly don't think the fact that it's going straight to Netflix means anything. And this may surprise some people. It may be an unpopular take, but I don't care. Aardman is my favourite animated film studio. Pixar, great. Don't get me wrong.
I don't think what you said is particularly unpopular.
I think it will, because I think a lot of people are just going to go Pixar, Monsters Inc,
Disney.
Incredibles, Toy Story. Those films are great. I'm not dissing them, but for me, if someone sat me down, you know, like The Matrix, the red pill or the blue pill, you know, someone sat me down and said Toy Story or Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were-Rabbit, I would, without a doubt, pick Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were-Rabbit. I think Toy Story is great.
I totally understand. I understand your decision. To be honest, I'd go with Spike.
I mean, there's some Pixar films I prefer over some Aardman films, sure. But overall, I think the better animated studio is Aardman, because they do.
It's the fact that they actually do about. So we've had a really long day.
You've been walking all day, then we went to go and have a meal.
It has been a genuinely long day.
Yes.
People watching and listening, but yeah, I think I agree with Spike, because the thing with Aardman is, you know, all the characters, they actually do it all by hand.
Yeah, and it takes a long while for them to make a Pixar film too, but I admire the craft with Aardman a lot more, because it's stop motion animation, and when you see like how small the stop motion animation is that they use for the film, and how small the plasticine and it all is, and you see the production that goes into these Aardman films, you just have this incredible appreciation and respect for the craft of those films. And also, I love how they perfectly balance comedy and heart. And the thing is with some Pixar films, again, not this, I love Pixar, but the things with some Pixar films is they do get a bit overly sentimental in some parts, and are a bit cheesy and a bit, you know, Disney, which is not always a bad thing, but can also kind of, you have to be in the mood to watch a film like that. Yeah, and you don't have that about Aardman.
I'll be honest, I do adore certain Pixar films. WALL-E has always been one of my favourites. I
like WALL-E. Yeah, and I think Incredibles is just exceptionally good, and I also love the first 3 Toy Story films, and I enjoy the 4th one too. But also, Pixar hasn't been firing on all cylinders recently. I liked Elemental, which came out this year.
I didn't say that. I thought that looked good.
But I didn't like Lightyear. Lightyear was a huge disappointment. So
I'm not sad that I didn't see it from what I've heard.
So yeah, that's another reason I do think that Chicken Run 2 could be one of the best films, if not the best film of 2023, because it's coming from Aardman Studios, and they are my favourite animated studio, and I have more faith in them making a good movie than I do in Pixar nowadays, I've got to admit. Anyway, let's come to the reasons though why it might not be the best film of the year, but why it could still be great. This film looks like it jumped a bit in time in terms of when it's set from the first film. Like, if I remember correctly, the first film I haven't seen in a while, but the first film was set in the 60s? If I remember correctly?
The first Chicken Run.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it for the vehicles.
And in the trailer for this one, there's a lot of high-tech gizmo kind of stuff, almost like it's out of a Roger Moore Bond film, which are always far-fetched. And that's got a bit worrying, because that's going to be a bit worried because it looks a bit too high-tech. And I know there's that line from Mrs. Tweedy who's back at the end of the trailer, which is quite exciting, you know, the villain from the first Chicken Run. I know that line when she goes, "Welcome to the future," but in the end, when is this film set? The first one was set in the 60s. Is this film set in the 80s? I suppose that could work.
You know, see, you've got to consider the age of Mrs. Tweedy. She doesn't look like she's aged too much from the first one.
No, and
she doesn't look like she's aged at all.
In all fairness,
like
Wallace doesn't age. Wallace doesn't age in the Wallace and Gromit films. No. But I know what you mean. If this is set 20 years later...
Well, no, but to be fair, all the Wallace and Gromit films seem to always set in the same time.
They're all set in the same week.
You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Even The Matter of Love and Death, it's like set in like the 50s.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
They're all set in the same... The Wallace and Gromit films, they might come out years after years later, but they're all set actually in the same period.
Yeah, I think... I'm a bit worried about when it's set, because I'm not sure if the time setting, you know, is gonna gel well together with what's actually happening in the film, if you get what I mean. Like, if there is high-tech stuff. Is that going to work? Saying that the film's still set in the 60s? I don't know. We haven't seen the film yet, but just from the trailers, that is one thing that slightly worried me. Also, I'm a tad bit worried that, I mean, I'm fine with it releasing on Netflix. That's okay. Aardman's probably got a deal with Netflix, whatever. But the problem I have with that a little bit is that it could be too commercialised. One of the great things about Aardman films is that they are almost cult classics, if you get what I mean, because they don't always appeal to the masses. I feel you have to have a certain taste to get them. And I'm a bit worried that Chicken Run 2 is going to try and do the Pixar thing and try and appeal to the mass audiences. Try and make it too commercial, make jokes about...
to be honest, they probably will. Because
yeah.
You're thinking about we're in 2023, the amount of films that have come out between the first Chicken Run.
Yeah, and I'm a bit worried that they're going to make some American jokes or do a riff on a famous American film that you wouldn't have gotten in a Wallace and Gromit film. You know what I mean? Like, it looks a bit in the trailer like they're riffing off the first Kill Bill film, and I love that film, but Super Mario Brothers just did that. I don't want to see it happen again in Chicken Run 2. And I like Super Mario Brothers, but that is a very commercialised film. And I don't want Chicken Run to necessarily be that. I understand that it needs to appeal to everybody in a way, but I also like the fact that they have this appeal with them, which, you know, Aardman Productions, where it's Chicken Run, Early Man, Wallace and Gromit, Pirates and Adventure Scientists, whatever, they have this appeal to them, which I think only appeals to a certain audience. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I do know what Spark means. It's like when I watch. It's like when I watch. It's like when I watch the Aardman films. I feel like. I feel like not everybody would love them. But to be honest, I sometimes feel like that with with Pixar as well. I was going to say the Cars film, for example. A lot of kids might really like it, but then you might get some that don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, I never really liked Cars too much.
I liked it. I liked the first one, but I've come to understand that the second one is pretty poor.
Yeah, that's often considered the worst Pixar film. Although I don't know about now, because Lightyear sometimes considered that worse.
Yeah.
Anyway,
maybe put that and Cars 2 on the podium.
Imagine that, a day of watching Lightyear and Cars 2.
God, I remember when I was a kid. I remember when I very first saw Cars 2 on Blu-ray at home back when I was a kid. I actually thought it was a masterpiece when I first saw it, but then as I watched it more and more and looking back.
Fair enough. Anyway, another reason that I'm slightly worried about this new Chicken, but I still think it could be great, is the voice cast. The voice cast has changed. It's no longer... Is it Julia Sawalha who voiced Ginger in the first Chicken Run? It's no longer Mel Gibson, and you don't have a lot of the original voice cast from the first Chicken Run returning. You have a couple.
It's probably hard to tell though that it's no longer Mel Gibson. They've probably just got someone new.
Well, they got Zachary Levi play Shazam. And he is also famous for doing voice cast in the past with Tangled. So, I'm not too worried about him. And I understand why they recast Mel Gibson.
I've actually seen Tangled.
Is it good?
I watched it in the cinema. I thought it was decent.
Alright, fair. I haven't seen it, so I can't comment. But, Mel Gibson, he's controversial, whatever. I mean, I like Mel Gibson as an actor. I love him in the Mad Max films, but I'm also a fan of the fact that they're not bringing him back for this one. Because he also sounds a lot more gruffly now. Like, you would have Rocky going,
well, he's
Ginger, when is it on?
Well, I mean, he's 23 years older, isn't
exactly. But Tandy Newton sounds absolutely nothing like Ginger from the original film. I like Tandy Newton. Good actress. Why the hell did they not bring the original voice actress back?
She might not want to do it.
No, she did want to do it. There's this whole big controversy. Well, it's not a big controversy, but it's a bit of controversy surrounding the fact that she wanted to come back, but Aardman was like, no, you're too old. And the thing is, that doesn't really make sense because Aardman brought back Peter Sallis
I don't understand
numerous times for the Wallace and Gromit stuff.
It's just going to be weird if Ginger actually sounds completely different.
She sounds a bit... But then...
I'm going to struggle to get used to that.
Yeah, I know what you mean, because I don't want it to be too distracting. I don't want to watch the film, be really enjoying it, but then going, that's not the same Ginger from the first Chicken Run. You can tell because of the voice. Again, Tandy Newton, wonderful actress, but she doesn't sound like Ginger from the first film.
No.
And, well, she doesn't from the trailer. For all I know, they changed it before the film. There is a good couple of months before the film comes out, so that's a possibility. Although it's premiering next month, so maybe not. But still...
Yeah, but the new voice actress would have to do all the lines.
Yeah, no, I mean... I don't know why they didn't bring her back. Because she did all these things, she put all these videos out saying, you know, my voice is exactly the same. She re-recorded lines from the first chicken one, and her voice was pretty much the same. It was a little bit older, but again, as what he mentioned, Peter Sallis came back time and time again to do the Wallace and Gromit stuff.
Until he couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, he's sadly passed away now, but he was still doing Wallace and Gromit stuff until, like, the year before he died, because he had a load of, like, YouTube mini clips of Wallace and Gromit online, so, you know. Anyway, I just hope the voice cast isn't too distracting.
Yeah. And he's in that Revenge of the Sith cameo.
No, I'm not touched that whole meme, the Revenge of the Sith meme.
I don't usually like memes, but I do like that one.
I'll give you that. Another reason I'm slightly worried about this new chicken one is that it's not being directed by Nick Park. So if you don't know who Nick Park is, pardon me, he directed all the Wallace and Gromit stuff.
Nick Frost.
No, not Nick Frost. He directed all the Wallace and Gromit stuff, and he also directed Aardman, and he also directed, he was a co-director on the first chicken one, and he's not directing this one though. He's probably working on the next Wallace and Gromit film, which is said to come out next year. However, why is he not back for this one? Why do they not have that Nick Park input? And I think Nick Park has made the best Aardman films. Nothing against some of the other ones, which weren't directed by him, but he's made the best. As I've already mentioned, Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were-Rabbit is a perfect film, and the first chicken one, we haven't really talked about this, is great! That first chicken one is a great film, and I think a lot of that is down to him.
It's one of my favourite animated films.
Yeah, and he's not coming back, so we don't have the same directors coming back from the first chicken one. That's not to say he doesn't have a say in this, but he's not a director. So
yeah, I actually like the first chicken run as much as Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were-Rabbit. For me, they're both as good as each other.
I like Curse of the Were-Rabbit a bit more because I think it's slightly cleverer. But Chicken Run, I still think is a really great film.
It's a classic.
Yeah, and I'm just because Nick Park is essentially the founder of Aardman Studios, because he did the first Wallace and Gromit, the very first Aardman production, all the way back in 1989, as a part of a school project, and the only reason he got Peter Sallis to do the voice of Wallace was through a cup of tea. He didn't ask for any money, just a cup of tea. Nick Park, okay, he made Aardman, which isn't the best Aardman picture.
It's good.
But it's still good. But he has made the best ones though, and I'm slightly worried that he's not involved in this one. And another reason it might not be the best film of 2023 is because let's look at the other movies which have come out this year, and let's look what's still coming. Look at the films that have already come out this year, and look what's still coming out. Think about the great films we've had this year so far. I loved Oppenheimer, and I also loved Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I really enjoyed The Fabelmans. I really loved Ryle Lane.
I love Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, exactly. I love what's some other great films that come out here? My mind's gone blank. I ended up loving Barbie in the end.
Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible's a great film. You enjoyed Dungeons and Dragons.
I enjoyed it. It's not my favourite from this year, but I like it.
Yeah, we've had some really, really good films this year, and we've still got some what look to be great films late this year. Just today, as we're recording this podcast, a trailer for the film Bike Riders has come out, starring Austin Butler, Tom Hardy and Jodie Comer. Looks great. So does Napoleon. Napoleon with Joaquin Phoenix and Vanessa Kirby is my most anticipated film for the rest of the year. Wonka with Timothée Chalamet.
I can't wait for Wonka.
Yeah, Wonka looks great with Hugh Grant as an Oompa Loompa. Aquaman 2, I'm not saying that's going to be the best one of the year, but it could still be good. Just next week we've got The Nun 2.
I'm not watching The Nun 2.
Early today it said, I'll go and watch The Nun 2 if you give me £1, I'll go and watch The Nun 2.
Yeah, forget that, I bought like 50 quid.
Be getting my wallet out until later today. No, but in all seriousness, there is the new Exorcist film. I'm not saying that's going to be great, but again, it could be good. And the point I'm making, it could be good. The new David Fincher film, The Killer, which is another Netflix production. The point I'm making is there's a lot of what look to be great movies coming out late this year, which are already getting great reviews. And Chicken Run 2 has to compete with all of them. I don't know how well it's going to do with all of that. Saying that, the year Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were-Rabbit came out, if I was reviewing films that year, that would easily be my favourite film of 2020, or 2006.
Well, the thing is, the Chicken Run 2 trailer didn't reveal much, so you can't
No, it
judge
didn't.
it from the trailer.
And to be fair, it was a teaser trailer. The official trailer will probably come out close to the actual release, because that's what Netflix do. They did the same with Knives Out 2, they did the same with The Irishman, and so on and so on and so on. So, we haven't seen much, but it's competing against some amazing films you've had this year. For you, it's competing against Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, I suppose, because that's your favourite.
That, but also other ones. Mission Impossible, I'm very fond of the film.
Yeah, the newest Mission Impossible. I think you liked it a bit more than me. Yeah, the point is, it's competing against a lot of other great movies this year. And no offence to Aardman, I think they're going to make a great film. But do I think it's going to be the best film of 2023?
There's a lot to ask.
Yeah, that's like... bear in mind, like, my most anticipated for the rest of the year so far is Napoleon, my second most anticipated Wonka, then my third most anticipated might be this Bike Riders film now that I've seen the trailer. But I don't know if it's going to be better than them. I really don't. It could be just as wonderful as Wonka. It could be just as wonderful, but at the same time...
Could be just as Wonka-ful as Wonder.
Haha, that's
Wonka.
one of the day. Anyway, it was not a good pun whatsoever. After this, I've got to slap him over the head with a carrot. I'm not in my bedroom, I can't do that.
It's in my bedroom.
Ah, yes.
Goes by my rules.
I'll remember that for the next time you come around. I'm going to remember that. Okay, anyway, going back on what I was saying, Chicken Run 2, it's got a lot to compete with. That's the point I'm making. We've had some splendid films this year so far, and I don't know if we're going to have some splendid... Well, we'll probably watch some splendid films for the rest of the year. But, nevertheless, I am still very excited for Chicken Run 2. Are you very excited?
I'm extremely excited. I
thought I was about to say my camera was about to win. Anyway, yeah, it's kind of...
It's fine. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think, you know, I've always got high hopes after seeing the first one and liking the first one so much, and that puts a bit of pressure on the second one.
Yeah, I know what you mean, because it's hard to deliver with a sequel sometimes. Sometimes you get some great sequels. Shrek 2, brilliant animated sequel. Puss in Boots 2 this year, that was a really good animated sequel. Toy Story 2, great animated sequel.
Empire.
Yeah, not anime, but sure, yeah. Godfather 2.
What else?
Temple of Doom's a great sequel, if you count that.
You could say the second Bond, even, From Russia With Love.
I prefer that over the original.
So do I.
Yeah, I think Dr. No's okay. There's another one.
Also, Dr. No didn't have an official song either, it just had the theme.
No. Dark Knight, that was a sequel, and some people say Dark Knight's better than Batman Begins. I see where they're coming from,
Taken 2 is just alright in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think that...
Forget that.
Predator 2!
No. Predator 2 is like the Taken 2.
Although saying that, Terminator 2, that's a great sequel. Better than the original. And I like the second Jurassic Park. You know, there's plenty of great sequels out there. But I also understand that it needs to compete with the original. And some people, because they grew up with the original, like us, have that fond memory. It's the whole thing to do with the original Star Wars trilogy. People who say, why isn't Star Wars as good as it used to be? Because you grew up with the original Star Wars trilogy.
It's like Cars 2 had a lot to live up for, but Cars 2 could have been better.
Yeah, and...
That was a big disappointment.
So what we've taken away from Cars, from this podcast with Lewis, is that he does not like Cars 2. I don't know if anyone else crossed that. But the point I'm making is, it needs... I don't know if it's going to be as good as the first, because some people hold that first in such a wondrous memory. You know what I mean? Like, I hold the Wallace and Gromit films in such a wondrous memory. So when I'm thinking about them, I go, oh, I mean, those films are glorious.
Do you think in, I don't know, maybe 5 years' time there'll be a Curse of the Were-Rabbit sequel?
I think there's a better... I don't know about Curse of the Were-Rabbit sequel, but I do think we will get another full-length feature Wallace and Gromit film. Not just another 45 minutes.
Sorry, I really wanted to get that. I didn't get it. It was a fly.
I think we're more likely to get another...
It's because it's my bedroom, so I can't.
Yeah, it's more likely to get another full-length feature Wallace and Gromit. I don't know about getting a Curse of the Were-Rabbit sequel. I would love to get Peter Kay back as that police officer that he voiced in the first one.
Yeah, I'd have no idea it was Peter Kay watching the film.
I only know because it says in the credits. And also Ray Fiennes, who you call Ralph Finesse. He does the voice of Victor.
Guilty as charged.
And Helena Bonham Carter, she does the voice of what's her name? Lady Tottingham. That's it.
Or Totty.
Or Totty. call me Totty, and Victor as well, who is like one of the best. Is probably the best Aardman villain today. Anyway, you could get them, but you don't need to necessarily. But then I made that point about the voice cast with this film. I think you never know. The Wallace and Gromit film that they're making might be a full-length feature film. You never know. I don't know if it's released in cinemas, but still. I think we're on the verge of Aardman greatness. Anyway, going back into Chicken 1 2, aka Chicken 1 Dawn.
I'd happily go to the cinema just to watch a half-hour episode of Wallace and Gromit.
So would I. I would have to go to the cinema to watch Grand Day Out, Long Trousers, Close Shave, and Massive Loaf.
And I'd pay good money.
So would I. I'd pay really good money to go and watch Curse of the Were-Rabbit at the cinema. I'd pay, like, I'm not even joking, probably £100 to go and do that.
Wow.
Because of how much I love that film. There's certain films I do that with, certain films I just...
I'd pay £100 for all of them together.
Cheapskate. Going back into Chicken 1 2, because we've been speaking a lot about this, some of the other Aardman stuff. I'm a bit sad that it's not getting a theatrical release, the new Chicken 1. That is a bit unfortunate, because I would have loved to see another Aardman film in the cinema. The only Aardman film that I have seen in the cinema is Shaun the Sheep for Armageddon. Would have loved to have seen Chicken 1 2 in the cinema, but it isn't to be, and I'm still very excited to see it. Are you still very excited to see Chicken 1 2, aka Chicken 1 Dawn of the Nugget?
Yes, I've been looking forward to it ever since Spike first initiated it, that it was coming out into the cinemas.
I initiated it, apparently. I told him, and then it just happened.
We did. I didn't know before Spike mentioned it, so
yeah. I know what you mean.
That's usually the case.
And the character posters for this film look great. I don't know if anyone else has seen them, but yeah, we're both really excited for the film. Hopefully it's going to be great. But I don't know if it's going to be one of the best films of 2023.
Yeah, the thing is, I'm not going to be disappointed if it's not as good as the first one.
Yeah, I know what you mean. If it's still enjoyable, then I don't see what it's doing.
About.
Yeah, it's doing something right. If you still enjoy it, if you still find some entertainment value with it, that's what I think with a lot of films. That's why.
As long as you're entertained, then it's it's worth the money.
You know, it's a whole thing in Gladiator. Are you entertained? And if I am with Chicken 1 2, I'll be happy with it. But I don't know if it's going to be one of the best films of the best film of 2023.
No, but I'm not going to be annoyed if it isn't.
Although it could be one of the best. It definitely could be one of the best. Anyway, guys, that is it for this podcast today. Thank you as always for watching or listening, and let me know your thoughts on Chicken 1 2 and whether you think it could be one of the best films or the best film of 2023 in the comment section below.
Thank you very much.
And if you haven't yet, please do click down below and subscribe on this podcast.
Like, subscribe.
And thank you, Lewis, for being here today.
No
thank you for joining this podcast.
And thank you for being our host.
Hey, I'm here every day. Well, it seems like. Anyway, thank you, as I already mentioned. Thank you as always for watching or listening. And I will see you guys again soon. But bye for now. Bye.